So here we go, the final week of Sync 60. How are you guys doing? I hope some of you, a large number of you, were able to actually stick with us for this entire 8 week challenge. I know that it's tough and it's challenging, and it was probably enlightening for a lot of you guys because you've never done something like this before, right? Most of the time, and I think this is how most producers work, this is how I certainly worked much in my younger years, is we just get a musical idea, go into our studio, get about 25 to 50% of it done, and then close our DAW because we didn't come up with any ideas to finish it. And then we just rinse and repeat every single day. And that's basically our music careers, for lack of a better word. We're just literally chasing musical inspirations here and there. We're not scheduling anything. We're not treating it seriously. We're not treating it like a business. We're not pre-organizing our sessions. We're not setting up weekly goals or sort of putting it up on a chart to make sure that we're actually following and progressing towards what we want to get done. So I hope for a lot of you guys just participating in this, even if you didn't achieve your Sync 60 goal, you at least learned that and discovered that there's a smarter way that you can go through this industry that most producers don't do. I mean, if you guys have seen, this isn't rocket science what we're going through here in Sync 60, but it does make sense, right? It does sort of help you stay focused and break up your larger goals into smaller, achievable goals and help you get those distractions out of your life that are basically pulling you in all these different directions. The key to success in this industry and most of every industry, I would say, is zeroing out the stuff that's not important and just focusing on what you need to do to get the work done. That's really it. Most people are not able to do that. And it's just because they either never tried it, didn't know they should do things that way. But I think you guys now have seen with Sync 60 that this is definitely the path for you guys to be able to do that. And moving forward, I hope you guys do take these lessons you've learned and apply your own Sync 60 challenge. You don't have to have all of us to do this for you to say, hey, I want to create an album in the next 60 days. You now have a path and a process. You can actually go back and watch these videos and discover how this actually was all done, and then you can essentially just repeat the entire process over and over again for your licensing career. So that's basically what I want you guys to take from this. I want you guys to make sure that you're taking what you learned here and moving it forward, and you don't just end it because, okay, Sync 60 challenge is over, now I'm going to go back to just getting excited about music once in a while. No, I hope you guys have now changed some permanent manner of how you guys are approaching your music career, because I hope it's that important to you. And speaking of your music career, today I want to talk about, for this final video, what it's like and what it means to have success with sync licensing, especially TV film music licensing. Essentially the fruits of achieving full-time income. I know that's why all of you are participating in Sync 60 and following along and participating and joining Sync Academy, is because this is the path you see for yourself. This is what you want. So today, myself and Trevor, another one of our Sync Academy pros, we're going to basically just talk about our personal experiences in this industry, what it feels like to be on this side of things, right? We were on your guys' side of things for many, many years, where we're like, is this going to work out? I don't know. We were just getting our career started. But at some point, probably 4 or 5 years into it for me, I finally got this sort of satisfaction and this confidence that with my royalties and with my income growing, I knew that I had done something that I could say I had arrived, right? I could at least be confident that I was making full-time income. I was seeing enough growth to feel like this is going to be a long-term path for me. It's not just going to be a quick drop in the bucket and then I'm out of the business, but it was something that I could actually sustain myself with and keep going for the long run. So I want to talk today about that. Actually, Trevor, if you don't mind starting with your maybe that break-free moment where you started feeling less of like an amateur outsider, kind of looking into the business, and you started to feel like, hey, I'm actually kind of doing something that's working here. Maybe saw your royalties grow to the point where you got that confidence that this is going to be where you should stay. This is going to be where your career is going to lead you for many years into the future. And how did that make you feel? What is your life? How's your life been different now that you're on that side of the equation? And just generally, like, what that process was like for you.
Yeah. So mine might be a little bit different than a lot of people's, because I'm kind of like ADD when it comes to like my music career life. But I spent the first like part of music like wondering where I fit in, right? Like I was working with bands or hip hop artists or whatever, and I was just like, I kind of like all of this. Well, then once like I kind of got into the TV and film stuff, and I started getting actual jobs that like forced me to do those things like aggressively. Like, okay, we need you to do a dubstep album, like hardcore, sound just like Skrillex type stuff. We need you to do rock type stuff. Once I was getting those gigs and shoving myself into those things, and I love all of those things. I love different genres. I love all that stuff. Once I was successfully doing that, like getting the gigs, seeing like royalties off of those gigs, that's when I realized, okay, like I've made it, because I went from kind of being lost in music to like, oh, I know where I fit, and it fits my personality, and I'm making money from it. And that was when I was like, okay, now I've made it, or whatever, for me. Like, it was like some other people may have a I want a theme song, and then now I want to do a bunch of theme songs. Like, everybody kind of has their I made it. That was mine, was realizing that my broad love of music I was able to make money in that by just making a broad amount or broad types of music. And so once I was successful at doing that, that's when I was like, okay, I've made it. Now what's next? Which led me to going, okay, I found my place musically. What else can I like do, since I'm so like all over the place? And then I started like really being interested in the business and the challenge of the business part, which is why I'm at where I'm at now, where I own a library slash licensing, whatever you want to call it. Because I my journey was basically lost, found myself, and now I'm like learning, like loving to learn something new, which is the business end. Some people, that's not what they want, but for me, because I'm just kind of all over the place and like everything as like I like the whole picture so much that I want to like learn and be a part of every little thing, every little genre, every little business part. I want to learn how to pitch stuff. So being a part of them and then learning them and then trying to get better and better at them is kind of was my just breakaway thing. Was so Yeah, that's kind of my success story is just kind of finding my place, enjoying it, realizing I can make money from it, and putting food on the table and doing all that fun stuff, and then going, okay, I love the journey so much, I'm going to keep doing the journey. And some people aren't like that, obviously. Like, I know plenty of producers there. I made it is I make this much from my royalties and I'm doing theme songs. That's a lot of people, and that's awesome. Like, they're great at that, and once they hit that I made it, they do their theme songs, they get their, they love doing theme songs. Like you mentioned in our last video, the Seinfeld thing. Some people, that's their goal and that's what they want to do for the rest of their life, or score a film or whatever. And um, so for me anyway, once I found my place in music and then made money with it, it allowed me to just kind of not stress about like, who am I musically, and just do what I thought was cool. And it led me to probably doing one of my favorite things, like along with making music that's all these different genres, like building this business. While it's been, a big learning curve, it's been stressful, it's been really fun. And some of the best, some of the best times of my life was this year and a half that I started this company. And I wouldn't have even realized that like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that's where I'll be. Cause I love the journey, and I'm, a year from now, I have no idea what it's going to look like. And I love that. And so, yeah, that's what my success looks like, is just this journey, and I love it.
I like that. Yeah. And you have to do that. You have to love the process, because when people say, well, I just want to make it, well, you really don't, because the minute you quote unquote make it, where do you have to go from there? Right. So it's really not a destination, quote unquote, making it. But there obviously is a point where you're paying all of your bills, and, you have full-time income from your music. And so that is definitely what most people are going to classify and describe as made it. But that can't be the end of the journey for you. Is that, okay, great, you got income now, you're paying your bills. If you don't love it, like, you're not going to keep going with it, right? So if you're not in love with the process right now, before pre-income, right, pre-royalties, pre-sync fees, maybe even pre getting accepted by a library, if you don't love learning about making better music and producing better music and mixing it, and improving your mixes and improving your masters and expressing yourself creatively in this manner, and being able to crank out music consistently, if you don't love all of that stuff, this is not the path for you, because that's the future. I mean, what you're doing right now is your future self. The only difference would be you'll have income coming from doing the exact same thing you're doing right now. So I think that's really some big wisdom right there, that be in love with the process, with the craft, with the fun of it. Because if you don't, it's just, you are going to hit that moment. And this is so common when people do achieve their sort of goals that they thought was what they wanted. They get to it and then they feel this emptiness of like, well, yeah, I got a theme song on a TV show, but I'm still the miserable person I was before, right? Why didn't that solve all of my problems? Well, because it's the process, it's the journey. And like Trevor was saying, he's starting this new endeavor, and it's like a new puzzle essentially he has to solve, a new Rubik's Cube. He learned a lot about sync licensing from his previous experiences, and now he wants to apply that and now also learn new things, which brings me to another point about one of the great things about being a sync licensing producer myself. But I want to put a big disclaimer to make sure you guys don't get confused, because I know there's a lot of different opinions about this. I do love, now that I've been in this industry over 10 years, that I'm not pigeonholed as the rock producer or just the EDM producer or just maybe sometimes a hip hop orchestral producer, hybrid producer. I do all of those, and I've even gone into other genres and other sort of things, corporate, minimal. But the big disclaimer is that starting in this industry, I don't think that's a wise thing for you guys to do, is to go to a library or to yourself and say, yes, I can do all 6 genres and I'll be a master at all of them. The industry is too competitive. You're probably not good at all 6 of them. Let's just be honest. Stick with what you really know well, stick with what you think is great. But as you get into this business and the years roll on, you will start to branch. I guarantee you, you will branch into new genres, new territories. And that's what's so relieving and cool about this. For the years that I was in a band and I wanted to become a rock star and have a song on the radio, I always think about that now, all those years ago that we were playing those songs, we had probably 4 or 5 songs we played every show. Imagine now this is going to be, I guess, 11 years later, 12 years later. I'm thinking about, like, would I really be happy playing those same 4 songs 12 years later? And it's like these same 4, and what if those were the big ones that blew up for us as a band? And that's what's happening. That's what all bands do right now. If you guys go watch your favorite bands at a concert, they got to go play those oldies. They got to play the favorites. They got to play the hit songs that got them there. Imagine playing the same song for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, right? I think for me, actually, at some point, I just blow my brains out. It's just, that's too much. I would want to move on at some point. Okay, that was a great song. Let's move on. But when you're going and playing for your fans, that's what they want to hear. But in sync licensing, you get to be fresh all the time. You don't have to go play your hits, right? You don't have to play the music that you were playing 10 years ago. You can evolve. I mean, when I got into this business, I was 100% rock. I did a little bit of like a hip hop rock infusion, like a Linkin Park sound, but I was 100% rock, and you couldn't get me to make pop music or dance music or any of that kind of stuff. But this business basically took me to school, and there was enough need for who I was working with, and they said, hey, can you try this or try that? And so I started dipping my toes into a couple of different genres, and thank God I did. It made me a better rock producer, actually, because now I have all these lessons I learned from these different genres, and I apply it to my original love, which still is. It's just rock, heavy rock music. That's just where I go to. So it is a great thing that keeps you fresh. Also, the last thing that I want to say about what it really does for you. It's not about being happy or any of that kind of stuff, but there is something about having a deep satisfaction, like a joy that is much deeper than just feeling happy, temporarily. But there's something that comes when you can say that you've mastered your craft, right? So, anybody who's a great electrician or a plumber or a doghouse maker, whatever it is, when you have gotten so good at that one thing that you've got full-time income, you're sustaining yourself, you've got happy clients, you can basically call yourself a professional at that thing, especially with music, which is so hard to do. There is a deep sense of joy, satisfaction, confidence, and just accomplishment that you sort of carry with you, and it just lifts your spirit just overall. And especially when you're socializing and talking to people, and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" You don't have to say, "Oh yeah, I kind of do this, I kind of do that." Something that you're really not excited about. You get to say, "Oh, I make music for TV shows, movies, and commercials." It's still, that's the one thing that I would say, even 10 years into this business, every time I was just at the bank the other day, and the teller was asking me, "Oh, okay, what's your business all about?" And I told her what I do, and she's like, "Wow," and their eyes light up, and they're so interested in it, and it's such an interesting topic of conversation. That's the one thing that has not worn off yet after all these years. It's so cool that you don't have one of those jobs where people go, "Oh, okay, all right," and then you just kind of move on with the conversation. It sort of opens up doors, and it's really cool to be able to talk to people about what you do, because it's so rare. I mean, really nobody does this, so it's such an interesting thing to be able to do. So I want to just impart that on you guys to make sure that you guys are aware that there is something that comes along with this entire process. I think what Trevor was saying there, which is in terms of being in love with the process, being in love with the journey, and with that you get this deep satisfaction that you've actually accomplished and mastered your craft. And the cool thing about music is you really never master it, right? You never really, you're done learning. It is a teacher that will always reveal new lessons to you. So that's really cool especially for me. I kind of have an ADD brain. I don't really, I don't like to be too bored at any time. I get bored with stuff real quick. Music is one of those things you can never get bored with, because you're just always going to learn a new way to produce, a new sound, a new genre, a new plugin, whatever the thing is, or a new way to produce music for TV shows, movies, and commercials, new opportunities. And like Trevor's doing, he's starting a brand new business, right? There's never going to be, and the industry is changing so much right now too, so you're going to have new opportunities, new places to put your music, virtual reality, augmented reality, new video game platforms that are coming out there. You guys have probably been seeing all the new stuff that's coming out, Apple, Google. Everybody's jumping into the video game space right now. So there's just a lot more opportunities out there for music to be heard and played. So if you're not in love with the challenge and you're not optimistic about the future and just love that process of making music, this is probably not the best way to go. But I just want to end this video with that positive note so you guys know what it really feels like to be on the other side of this thing, where you're actually doing this full time and actually making your full-time income with it is such a joy. It's such a gift. And the fact that there's even an industry here available to people like us to be able to do this from our homes, that's what it's really all about, guys. So I do hope that you guys take that with you moving forward through Sync 60. Any other last minute bits of information or advice you want to give, Trevor?
No, I would like to like emphasize something you said, because it's the you're out somewhere and somebody asks you what you do thing. Like, there's two parts to that. One, it's an interesting conversation, but two, when you're around like the people that you know and the people who kind of watched you go through all of this and struggle and stuff, once you've hit the whole like I've made it, quote unquote, like the I put food on the table, you know, I pay for things, you know, all that, pay the mortgage with it, all that stuff. You get two things and learn to enjoy both of them. You get respect from the people around you, because like most people don't know anybody who's actually succeeded in music, because it's so rare to succeed in music. And then you also get the jealousy thing and enjoy that too, because you know, then it kind of tells you like who isn't really like, if we're talking about like close friends and stuff, you get like close friends or people around you that just start to like treat you differently because you're succeeding in something. Then, you know, that tells you, you know, they're not happy for you, kind of thing. Learn to enjoy both of those things, because especially the respect one, when you, you know, you succeed in something that people don't expect anybody to succeed in. It's really nice to like get the respect of the people around you finally, especially when it, you know, this like we've been talking about throughout this whole Sync 60, this takes a long time. So you got a lot of people who are like, well, you didn't get paid on Friday, so you're not succeeding. And when you finally prove those people wrong and you're, you know, succeeding, but it's in a different way, you know, you gain that respect, and it's nice. So definitely like a nice little like a jewel at the end of the rainbow or whatever, is the respect of your peers, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, rubbing it in the faces of haters, like what else could you guys actually want? I mean, that's obviously not what we want to do, but there are definitely going to be, when you guys get to that point when this is full-time income, oh my gosh, you're going to get, yeah, the people that actually supported you, maybe they didn't doubt you, but maybe they just doubted the process. Or maybe they just didn't understand the business and they didn't think it was actually possible. Yeah, they'll come to you and just like, wow, like good for you. I'm so glad you stuck with it. That's so awesome. And that's really cool to hear from people that you actually love and respect. But yeah, you'll definitely get those that are like, not exactly happy that you succeeded, because they were betting and hoping that you wouldn't, because what you've done when you succeed is you pretty much made them face themselves, right? Because you sort of took the path of the less traveled path. You took a bigger risk, but you got the bigger reward, right? And that's what people don't, they get uncomfortable with that, especially when you do well, because then it sort of it puts a spotlight on them, and it makes them realize, oh, this was a choice that I had, actually. I actually could have also chosen to go down a more riskier path and believed in what I wanted to do and seen the fruits of my labor. But yeah, I wouldn't have gotten a check on Friday, but wow, like I wouldn't be in the job that I'm in now. I wouldn't be stuck where I am now. I would be a little bit more freer and doing what I really want to do. So yes, I think it also does reveal very quickly who your real friends are, who your real loved ones are in your family, and who are really not on your side. So it actually can be kind of I guess, liberating in a way, actually, so that you're not carrying around dead weight, essentially, in your life of people that are really not, you know, looking out for your best interest, but they're just actually trying to save themselves, right, and sort of protect their own ego. So absolutely, it's one of those sort of cherries on top at the very end of all this stuff. It makes it so cool. So all right, guys, so we are concluding Sync 60. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Trevor, for participating. I know that you're involved in many of these chats. I know everybody appreciates that, not to mention all the great tutorials that you provide for the community. So it's really cool that you're providing your insights and your experiences in this business. It's really great. And thank you to all of you, Sync Academy members, YouTube subscribers, Facebook followers, everybody. Anyone who's followed along with this entire process and gone every single week and at least did something, okay? I don't care if you literally just opened your DAW and started messing with sounds or something like that, and actually just put yourself to work on a weekly basis, consistent basis. Double thumbs up for all of you, okay? If you didn't participate at all, you didn't do anything, I want you to just remember one thing. In the last 2 months, you've probably taken no steps towards doing this full-time. You've made no progress towards making this your full-time goal because you just didn't do it, okay? It doesn't help to get lost in just watching video tutorials or watching other people produce or anything like that. Or, you know, well, I got to study another book. I got to do this. I got to before I get started. There's really no substitute for just getting into your studio and doing something and working and trying to achieve a goal for yourself. So for those of you that participated, I love it. Thank you guys so much for doing that. And again, you can take all these lessons and move forward with it.